Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming today for the December 7th, 2022 meeting of the Superintendent's Insurance Advisory Committee. We will start off with approval of the August 24th and the October 26th minutes. Is there any discussion on those minutes as they are presented?
Yeah, Amy, I would like to discuss something in the October minutes.
Let's all refer back to the October 26th minutes.
It refers as me motioning to approve the minutes. I know for a fact I did not do that because, well, I don't remember doing that because I did not believe we had the quorum to do anything like that. So, which is stated in here, but it still said I made the motion to approve the minutes and I do not recollect that.
Do we need to review the video, or what do we need to do to?
I mean, there's a video showing me I did it. I guess I did it, but I don't recollect that one.
It's okay.
I think you called the question about if we could even vote on.
Yeah, I know I asked about the quorum. I just don't remember moving minutes.
So what we can do is go back and re-look at the video again and bring it back next time.
All right. I mean, I think what we could do, because we're moving the minutes again, right? That's why we're having this conversation, or we're moving the August minutes, and it talked about me moving the August minutes. So I think we just cross out that anybody moved to approve the minutes. No, you're fine, Katie. I was just saying, I didn't remember moving the minutes at our last meeting from August, because I remember saying that we didn't have quorum to do that. So, but it's neither here nor there. I just wanted to bring it up.
Is there any other discussion concerning the minutes from the last two meetings?
I'll come around.
All right. If so, do we have a motion to accept the meetings as they are written with the correction for the October 26th minutes? Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, let's move on. All right. The next item on our agenda is new business for the wellness program of 2023. Ms. Scipio?
All righty, good afternoon again, everyone. If I haven't already spoken to you personally, good afternoon to everyone. Just want to bring to the committee kind of what we have been working on as it relates to our wellness for 2023. As you have in your packet, you have a sheet that outlines our December items that we are currently working on for our wellness activities for our employees. We have quite a bit planned for employees for the year end as we prepare for the 2023 year as it relates to our wellness program. In front of you, you don't have this in your packet because we've just been prepared. Our wellness program theme that we are proposing this year is to invest in yourself. We want our employees to certainly take self-care seriously for themselves and their family. So that's going to be, and it's on the screen right now, it's not in your packet. That's going to be our theme that we will be moving forward with. We have had a series of meetings with all of our partners and vendors. We've met with collectively and individually. We've met with Cigna, we've met with Marathon. We've also had our long-term team a part of our discussions as we plan for 2023. Because we're going to make this collective with all of our vendors and partners and no longer just be about BPS and what we can come up with ideas with, but we're going to partner with Marathon and what services they are already offering to us. We're going to partner with them to bring them in and with what Cigna offers so that we can have a more holistic approach to our wellness program. So on the screen, I'm going to show you, you should have this in your packet. It looks slightly different at the top. Again, just outlining some of the things that we are doing this month. We pretty much have something planned every week until break. And then before break, we'll launch our new program to our employees so they can, over the break, prepare for our Invest in Yourself. We want to give them the information prior to break so they can think about it and start preparing and start looking at what they would like to do as they invest in themselves. Today, and I was just in that class before I came here, the burnout class, Boundaries Before Burnout, was very interesting. And so we have cooking this evening, and then just very, very, very good, interesting classes. I try to go through and pick some things that we don't always do, so we can bring some variety and options to all of our population of employees. Up on the screen, we have segmented things by quarters to ensure first of all, we listen to our responses to our surveys that we have after each event. So we try to reassign and realign some things as it relates to time frame and dates. There was some challenges that was kind of crossing over with each other, or one would begin now and end at the same time the other one was beginning. It was just creating a little bit of kerfuffle. People wanted some time to rebound and be able to say, yes, I can do this, or to gather groups and get into teams and that sort of thing. So we try to come up with some ways to ensure that we are listening to our employee population and how we can better serve them in our wellness program. The new me for 2023 is what we're going to kick off. You're going to start seeing emails about that. Then, of course, Fall in Love with Your Heart is what we started with last year in February. And so we're back partnering with Marathon on blood pressure checks. And you'll start seeing more information about that that's coming out. You're going to be introduced in a messaging that's going to come out tomorrow about our new registered dietitian over there at Marathon. We pretty much now have almost a full house again at Marathon with services that are being offered. We have mental health that is on board. We have the dietitian. We have our coaching. So we're going to bring all those pieces in with our Cigna piece and make sure that our employees are receiving a whole circle wellness of care. Our mission to walk on the moon, that's just like one of our walks. We just decided to do it a little bit differently with some more excitement to it, so I'm excited about this. And then Hustle for Your Heart 5K, I'm excited about that too. As we talk through things, it's just really great. I'm really glad to see where we were when I started this wellness journey. I would say a year ago to where we are now. And I'm so excited for the participation. I'm excited about the involvement. I'm excited about the employees and how they are excited. And so hopefully that just carries on and that, helps build on the program. Not only that, but also help them in their wellness and in their health care for themselves and their families. We have some families at our events that are known because they participate in everything with their kids. And we really enjoy that. I really enjoy seeing the kids come out and they're doing things together. I really enjoy seeing that. The second thing that we have, second quarter, is as far as we have built so thus far, we're still cleaning up on the third and fourth quarter end of things. You remember back in September we had the hurricane, so Jet Dental was supposed to come. We just rescheduled them. This was the earliest date. The other time that it can come was this month, which we had too much movement happening within the schools. So we try to be very considerate of what was happening at schools with year end and all the pajama parties and Dress Like Me and that sort of thing. So we just moved that to the second quarter in March. We will reach out to those individuals who signed up before to give them first option. And then if they're still interested, then we're going to keep them on the schedule, ensure that the time still works for them, and then we'll open it up to others because we don't want anyone to feel like they have missed that spot. The wellness fair, we have started planning the wellness fair, which I'm very excited about. We're going to make some changes because what I've said in our meetings is I don't want it to become stale. I don't want it to become, oh yeah, they're just gonna do X, whatever X have been. One thing that I have asked is, I don't want it to become, oh, it's just about the massages. Yes, that's great, but let's think further down the road. Let's cast some more visions and see how we can make some changes, whether we're still keeping the massages or not, but how can we make that difference so it just doesn't become a ritual that we continue to have.
Please keep the massages.
Huh? Glow in the Park, 5K. Danny, our our well-being coordinator, she's really done a great job in coming up with our themes. And so this is another excited one. One thing we did learn when we did our park run back in September, because we had to move it, it was dark, and mosquitoes, oh my God. So this time we're gonna cater for that and be prepared. We learned from the first go round, so we're gonna be prepared, and that's as far as we've gotten with our planning, that it has been concrete, and we worked with vendors. And for our wellness fair, we still are working with vendors. It's gonna be both in person and virtual as well. And again, we're gonna add some added value items to that. Any questions about what I just talked about? Comments?
I had a question. You addressed the adjusting of the time, but I noticed on here that you're asking people to go ahead and sign up even if they can't make the time frame because maybe they're a classroom teacher or whatever. So that you're allowing them to go back and watch it later.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing that because that's really helpful. Are pretty much every one of these events able to go back and watch?
Yes, and I don't know if you've noticed, but on the emails that we're sending out, we are adding the links for the events that happened before so they can go back at that particular email, because you don't want to have to go back. So the links are on the current emails that we're sending so they can go back and watch it. We also did a variation of time. I'm sorry, but we cannot accommodate everyone. So we did a variation of times here, some during the day, some in the evening. Even when there is a complaint that we're not making it late enough, they're still not coming. Our 5 o'clock might have 5 or 6 people, so can't have it both ways, but we want to accommodate everyone. So this is what we've done. We've tried to do a variation of time frames, and then offer the links to go back and watch at a later time. If you didn't know, I just wanted to kind of pop this up on the screen really quickly. Danny Guy has been with us since April. She has really done a really good job in immersing herself in the culture here at BPS and at the work sites. She does yoga on site, working with her, the Healthy Liaison coordinators. Some of those are what they use as their items for reaching those goals within their schools. And she's done she is a certified yoga instructor. She's done some yoga for some conferences. I know Siac Services, and there's another group that has also asked that she has participated in their conferences for those groups and coming in and having wellness talks and or teaching yoga. And so has Joni, has also gone in and had a spot there as well. So I'm excited that we are utilizing our wellness team from Cigna, not just for what you see in an email, but we're really utilizing their services and what they can offer to our employees. Any questions or comments? We got any information Again, we'll continue to keep you apprised, and there might be some things you may not see on here because we thought, oh, well, this can fit better here. We might do some movements because of kind of what's happening within the organization, or it might be because of weather. The rainy season during the spring might cause us to not do something, and we might kind of do some fillers. Like this month, we have the whole month of fillers, right? So you may not have seen that before because we're trying to fill the month in preparation for the vision of 2023. So we start getting people kind of used to what that looks like, and hopes that will get them to the new me in 2023, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally. We want to attack every part of that being, of the human being, and ensure that no one's being left out.
Is there I know we already offer chiropractic coverage on our insurance plan. Is there any option of offering massage therapy as part of that in our coverage plan as well?
We can certainly ask Cigna, but usually holistically, from a healthcare plan, it's usually not offered, but we can certainly ask.
I'd like to maybe have that be considered.
Okay.
Something you can use your FSA.
It is something you can pay with FSA. It also is something, sometimes if it's medically needed or necessary, sometimes you can get a prescription for it, but it has to be medically necessary.
Or physical therapy.
Yes. Mhm. But you absolutely can use the FSA for that. There's some things I've learned this year you can use your FSA for that I didn't know you could.
I know that some of those changes happened in the last couple of years, but were those temporary just during or is that everything the changes like the feminine products and things like that, those are permanent moving forward, correct?
They are permanent moving forward. Those products are on there in an effort to bring more awareness for females to understand, and not feel, especially if we have students in our classroom, to not feel any discomfort, because some people are unable to afford to get those things within their family household. Mm-hmm. So yes, it is permanent. I was referring to more like B12 shots and stuff like that. I didn't know those things were covered, but apparently they are. All right. Well, again, I'm excited about our wellness coming up this year. I'm excited to begin our rollout for 2023. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to put that again out there before the break so that our employees, when they're on break, after they get through having a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, then they start getting prepared for their new self. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we are ready for our financial update, please. Ms. Debbie.
Hi, good afternoon. Everyone should have received, along with the PowerPoint, the complete presentation, is the full financial report. And so, as we have done in historical Siac meetings, we are going through an excerpt of that complete financial report. The first part of this is the BPS financials. Antonia, I'm not sure if you wanted to read through these two slides, or if you all need me to actually read this to you. This is the revenue report through October, and the financial statement through October as well. So do we need to walk through these two financial statements? Would anybody like us to walk through those and read those numbers to you all, or since you have the information, should we move forward? Good to move forward?
Okay.
Okay. One thing we thought you'd like to be interested in seeing is the results from open enrollment and whether or not we saw a big shift in your enrollment. As a result, we know that we did pass on a slight rate increase to your population for 2023. And so what we did see is very little movement. And so when we look at the gold plan and the silver plan on the top, silver plan on the bottom, 2022 enrolled compared to 2023, we saw very little movement. If anything, we saw an increase in enrollment. We saw a new 88 members enroll, was an increase of about 2% in your overall enrollment. So even going from gold plan from 2022 to 2023, the total went from 3420 to 3370, so not a terrific amount of movement there. Mostly we see that in the employee plus child category and in the family tiers, and then the silver plan respectively, seeing those pick up in those same tiers. So we saw also an increase there in the employee only on the silver plan. So not a whole lot of change from open enrollment, so that's good for the stability of your plan. So just going through the claims review at a high level with your executive summary with claims through October, we did see enrollment drop slightly in October compared to the same time as last year. We did see also the membership was down by just a little over 3% in this current period. Year to date through October, the plan is currently running at a deficit of just under $2 million compared to your total budget. So that loss ratio is running at about 103.3% compared to the budget rate. The RX claims right now are representing 21.6% of your total gross claims costs and 20.3% of the total net costs. Those gross claims have decreased slightly on a per employee per month basis through October compared to same time last year. And again, the gross claims are slightly lower than they were from last year. Year to date through October, we have seen 3 large claimants that are above your $500,000 individual stop loss threshold. And there are 10 that are above half of the ISL at $250,000, accounting for 8.1% of your total gross paid claims. So we look at your paid claims. This is mislabeled through August. I apologize. This is definitely through October. So we're showing 2021 compared to 2022 with the year-over-year change in the far right-hand column. So we saw what we just mentioned with the employees dropping by a little over 2.7. But your total budget was up by 5% from last year at this point in time. We go down the medical claims. Your total claims overall are down compared to this time last year in total by about 5.4%. But on a PEPM basis, because your enrollment did decrease on a cost per employee per month, that did go up by just 1.2%. So overall, compared to this time last year, your total plan costs are actually a little bit less than they were last year. Of course, again, as I mentioned, as we get to the per employee per month, it changes that number a little bit differently. But when we look at the surplus of the plan and the deficit and how the loss ratio is running compared to budget, currently you're running at 103.3%. Compared to this time last year, we were having a very different conversation at almost 110%, 10% over the budget, still only in October. That we were facing a much different situation. So while your plan is still operating a little over budget right now, it's not as bad as it was last year. So we're still slowly turning that battleship back to a more funded plan. So overall, year-over-year change of about 6% from a loss ratio perspective, and the deficit as well. So this kind of breaks down. This chart shows your actual costs broken down by your net claims, clinic fees, stop loss premium, your administrative fee, and of course any additional costs that are in there. All of those come together to show your actual claims costs coming in just slightly over what we had budgeted. So you're about a $2 million, just under a $2 million deficit, or $33 PEPM. Your monthly claims through October, a little bit hard to read, but we are starting to see that and kind of reinforcing what we saw in this prior year to date. So this, we have all of your claims through October. And this down here in this bottom section here is your prior year to date. So we can see again where your fees have been consistent with what we would expect from 1 month to the next. Overall, this month in October, you're at a 93.7% loss ratio per budget, like we typically see with your population with the cyclical claims trend. So we see most of your claims coming in over the summertime. That's when most of your population is off. They're seeking care at a time that they're able to do so. Right now, your claims through October are more respective of things that were incurred in August or September, when most of your population is not actually going to incur those claims. So actually having a lower expense in October. Large claims, however, those 3 large claimants that were not in excess of $500,000 in August have pierced that $500 threshold looking at claims through October. Your number 1 claimant now is not your lasered individual. Your number 1 claimant is now at $814,000. That's been reinsured at $500,000. So any amount that's over that $814,000 now is reinsured by your stop loss carrier. Your claimant number 2 is lasered at a specific dollar amount, so that claimant would be lasered at $1.6 million in claims. That claimant is no longer incurring claims. We are not expecting that to continue to exceed much more than the $768,000 that has already been incurred. Again, that one is also, that's your number 2, not receiving any reimbursements at this point. But your number 3 claimant through October has also pierced the stop loss threshold of $500,000 and is now meeting that aggregate specific erosion. And so what that has done now is that 3rd claimant is meeting your aggregate specific deductible. Now that your aggregate specific deductible has been met, then the district will begin receiving reimbursements from your reinsurance carrier for any large claimant in the excess of $500,000. Any questions about this large claim exhibit?
I have a question about the previous one.
Sure.
Just if you could provide the breakdown like you did last time for gold and silver later in an email.
Yeah.
I guess. Because I thought we asked for, I know I asked in October. I think you sent it for that period, if we could get it for this period as well.
For the large claims or just the general claims?
No, the
general claims?
yeah, I
Do you
believe
still-
it's the page before where it says all plans.
Yep, if we still have the claims open, I can pull it up right now if you have that here. Let me do that.
I mean,
'Cause
either
here,
way, or you could just review it
yeah,
or just email it.
and so.
That sheet right there, I think used to be
This is-
provided.
This is the all plans, that's what's been dropped into the SIAC presentation. Included in here, the next page is a rolling 12, and here's your experience-wide plan. So I'm happy to look at
Okay.
this together.
I
This
missed
is
it.
part
We're
of your
good.
packet. This is on page.
Oh, it's in the other packet?
Yep. This
Okay,
is,
thank you.
Where is the page number? There's page 10.
Page 10 and 11.
So, no problem. So page 10 goes through your gold plan. Your gold plan right now is running at 113.5% compared to budget, compared to your silver plan, which is running at that 87.1. So that blend is where that 103 is.
Thank you, I just had.
No, my pleasure. This is your complete report, and it has all of that with there. So if you have any questions about that, once you've taken a look at it, if there's some additional questions that I can answer, by all means, stop me, and we'll pick that up. If you're asking for the large claims by silver and gold
No, I wasn't.
plan,
I was
okay,
just
I
asking.
could probably get that for you if you needed them, but, okay, all right.
Unless you find value in that.
No, because your large claimants are what they are, so it really wouldn't matter. Your plan in total is paying for those large claims. Your plan in total is burdening those large claimants, regardless of whether their out-of-pocket max was $3,000 or $5,000 or $2,500, or regardless of whether they're carrying family coverage. The bottom line for these individuals is, where's their risk?
Either way.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so really, we want to look at anything that's over 250, because those are the ones that are approaching your 500,000 threshold. The aggregate specific is, and does everybody understand what an aggregate specific deductible is? I don't know that we've talked about this very much in this meeting. So let me just go ahead and explain what that is and what's already under your current policy. For example, your number one large claimant right now is at $814,000. If you had not had claimant number 3, even though that individual has exceeded $500,000, you have what's called an aggregate specific deductible, which means that once all of your large claims collectively have to meet an extra $387,000 before you start receiving reimbursements. And so when we see the third claimant coming in at $715,000, the aggregate spec erosion, that $72,307, is only the difference between what the first person met over $500,000 and your aggregate specific deduction level of $387,000. That's why that triggered at $72,307, which is a very specific amount, for everything else to be covered under a stop-loss reimbursement. Your number one claimant does not have a stop-loss reimbursement because they, them and of themselves, had not reached your specific deductible. Your second large claimant is a lasered claimant, and so again, not aggregating towards that specific erosion. So it wasn't until your third claimant that excess of the $500,000 in aggregate across those two claimants meets $387,000. So now anything above $387,000 for number 3 or number 2, and frankly, anybody else on that list, if number 4 hits $500,000 before the end of the year, that will be reimbursable at $501,000.
If number 1 continues to incur claims,
They will continue, they will be reinsured, and you all will start receiving reimbursements for that
on them for
individual.
anything
That's
above
correct.
what's already been processed.
That's correct. That is correct.
I was taking a preliminary look at November. Do we have any idea how many more of these might be getting?
I don't
closed?
have November's data
You don't
yet.
have, okay.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
Y'all have it before we do, so you would know if you've had a specific spike in claims. And when we have encountered that in the past, we've typically received a call from somebody from the district happening. So it would be something pretty significant. It would be, we would get phone calls if all that 814 came in one. So that's clearly an ongoing claimant. The preemies that get discharged with $1.5 million, like that, those are the ones that $1.5 million come out of our bank account. So those are the ones that we know before you. Otherwise, we wait to the claim report, which has about a lag.
And to answer your question, Ms. Campbell, there are some for the month of November, but probably not as drastic as we saw for the previous 2 months, September, October.
Any additional questions about large claimants or stop loss? We'll flow right into our next topic. Okay. So Lockton conducted a stop loss marketing for your stop loss carriers. We market stop loss for all of our clients every year. It's somewhat of a commodity as a reinsurance. Has nothing to do with your plans, your population, your employees, the members that are covered under the plan. Have no impact under your stop loss carrier. So we market that on the side. We have a breadth of leverage in the marketplace, and we marketed to a number of different carriers in the marketplace to get the most aggressive response possible. So there are some market conditions that do impact the stop loss renewal. We looked at, according to our InfoLocket's reporting, that there's a 131% increase on average for gene therapy drugs. So we're seeing that just in general across the marketplace. Same thing in gene therapy by the FDA, receiving all of those applications, and we're expecting a lot of those to be approved and launched in the coming 12 months. Specific to Brevard for your plan performance, your historical cumulative loss ratio is 156%. So that's your loss ratio stretched across a 3-year period of time through, at the time of this analysis, was through August of 2022. At the time, when we took this to the market, you had not had a stop-loss reimbursement under your plan. So those claimants that we just went through, those large claimants, were all under that $500,000 threshold, which was good timing for taking it to market because we got a very aggressive response. If we go to the marketplace with claims against your plan, obviously the responses come in a little bit differently. From an ongoing known risk, what we do know is that we would expect the risks that we know on the plan to result in at least 1 to 2 of those stop-loss breaches. We know that the 5 ongoing claims are projected in 2023 to cost between $1.3 and $2.7 million, just based on our clinical estimates. The cost right now that you're paying for stop-loss, good news, is 44% lower than our market benchmark. So what you're paying right now is already lower than what we see with some of our other clients based on your size. So when we look at the renewal, and what we made the recommendation to the board, and the board has approved, was the best fixed price option at the current deductible. We did not change that $500,000 individual specific deductible. That came from Highmark with a 6% reduction to the existing stop loss rates. So it's not it is a true reduction from what you're currently paying. And so we did recommend the unbundling because currently you're with Cigna for your stop loss. So we did recommend unbundling from Cigna and carving out the stop loss. We did receive a firm response from Highmark and Voya, but we did also receive uncompetitive illustrations from Sun Life at 53% over current and Optum at 92% over current. So we did not illustrate those in our analysis and bring those to Brevard Public. So currently your incurred contract is the $500,000 deductible with that $387 aggregate specific deductible, which is what ASD stands for. Sorry for all the acronyms, but we live in an acronym world. ISL only is individual stop loss only, meaning when we say ISL only, meaning there's no aggregate stop loss. So I'm sure years ago you all got rid of your aggregate stop loss coverage. That reinsures the total plan cost. Like if you were to spend 125% of the $70 million we budget for, then they might pay you $1 million. So yes, I'm sure years ago you got rid of that. At your size and your spend, we would have recommended to do the same thing years ago. So that's what the ISL only means. And then right now, currently you do have a 45% rate cap with the no new laser provision, so that's very important. When we look for a new carrier, we want to make sure that there's also a no new laser provision so that we're making sure that we're caring for your forward thinking. So now, the best proposal was with HM and Insurance Group. They have provided a 6% reduction to current premium. What you're seeing highlighted in the green box is an interface fee that is charged by Cigna to send them claims and interface with them so that they know when they need to trigger a stop-loss reimbursement. Even after that interface fee, the fixed cost is still less to move the business to HM Insurance versus renewing with Cigna. And so HM is actually excluding the current laser claimant because that person became Medicare eligible and is actually no longer under the plan. So we know that that particular laser person is not a risk for Brevard for 2023. So the move to HM with that individual excluded provides no additional risk to BPS. So this is what was approved by the board. It did represent a savings of $105,000. We won't tell you that it's a savings of $400 and some odd over the renewal because that's kind of coupon math. We're not really saving you $300,000 over your renewal because that's not money in your pocket, but the $105,000 that is a reduction from your current premium is absolutely money in the bank. So not only does that add for margin, we had included an estimated, I believe, I'm going to talk off the top of my head, what did we put in the projection? I want to say it was a 12% renewal that we put in the projection that we budgeted for, and now we're coming in at -6%. So that just adds a little bit of margin. Anything that we can do to keep the health and funding of the plan in the black is certainly for the positive. HM also provided a multi-rate guarantee, so it includes a rate cap and a no new laser provision. So while they're excluding the current individual, when they renew next year, when you all do receive your renewal from them next year, if you have a claimant that emerges in 2023, that is a new risk that we don't know about, that may have ongoing care that has not hit the plan today, they cannot laser that person next year at renewal. So right now you have that $1.6 million laser on that one person, but we took that even though we had a renewal without it. So that was a risk that we took to renew at the time with Cigna with that laser. And so this time we can drop that laser, we can move the stop loss to HM. So now we have the proper contract for with HM with no laser, with all the individuals at $500,000. And so if something were to happen throughout 2023, we do have somewhat of a safety net for next year for having a no new laser for a newly emerged claimant. Any questions about the stop loss for the claims or anything financial that we've talked about so far? No? Okay.
All right, just want to make sure that everyone from Cigna is on the line. Can everyone hear them okay?
Very faintly, yes.
You're kind of low. Do you have a louder, turn up your volume a little bit? And I'll turn mine up as well. Can you hear us okay? That became slightly better.
Okay, we'll talk louder.
Okay, how's that?
We can hear you great.
Is that too loud, everyone? Okay, give me just a second. Cigna, you hang on just a minute.
Hello, can you hear us? Are you ready for us to provide an update?
Okay, yeah, we're good to go.
All right, thank you. So thank you, everyone. This is Angela Bird from the Cigna team. I know that the Washington team wanted us to be available for this discussion just so that we can continue to provide an update on the Parish Medical Center network goals. So ultimately, we are still in very active negotiation discussions, and our goal is to reach an agreement that keeps the healthcare affordable and maintains a strong network for Brevard Public Schools. So at this time, I believe many of your members have started to receive the member communication that was issued to let the members aware, based off our legal contract, that there is a potential that Parish Medical Center could term as of December 16th. So we wanted to make sure that that member communication was issued timely. It is part of our contractual and legal agreements to provide that to the members. And with that notice, the members were notified that there are 8 sole privilege providers as well, with exclusive admitting privileges that would be terminated in the event the parish medical center terms we were not able to reach an agreement. And so I'm just going to pause there because I just wanted to share a high-level update. And then if there are any questions or any concerns that we can help address, again, just wanted to reiterate that we are still in active negotiation discussions, so there is no official termination until December 16th, and we're still actively working towards getting and maintaining Parish Medical Center in network.
Can you clarify what
So
the main sticking points are of the negotiations are?
Unfortunately, because it is an active negotiation and this is a public meeting, we are not able to speak to the negotiation terms or any of the discussions.
Did the letters go out to everyone on the plan, or just people who had used providers? Because I don't if who are from that area.
Yes, that's a great question. So we issued member notifications to every member who had any kind of claim at Parish Medical Center within the last 18 months. And so we do over a year just in case to kind of cover ourselves. And that was issued, I believe the members probably started receiving it the week of Thanksgiving. And then in addition to that, we also did send notifications to the 8 providers with exclusive admitting privileges and gave them their options as well to make that team aware.
Thank you.
So this covers both Parish Medical Center and the North Brevard Medical Support, which means all of the doctors affiliated with Parish Medical Center as well, correct? The Parish
Correct.
Medical Group.
There are 8. Yes, there are 8 sole privileged providers. In addition to the 8 sole providers, there's 36 providers, but they're not exclusive to Parish. They are in network with facilities as well in the area.
But that includes what's called Parish Medical Group, which is the pediatricians and the OBGYNs and all of the people in Parish Medical Group as well, correct?
Parish Medical Center?
No, it's called Parish Medical Group, which is most of the doctors, the medical providers in the north end of the county are called Parish Medical Group. Are they also part of this negotiation? No,
there's 8 providers. We're working on getting you the provider listing, but there's 8, and that is not that group.
So this is only about 8 doctors? That can't be correct.
Well, it's the medical facility itself, the Parish Medical Center, along with the North Brevard Medical Support Group, and in that medical support group, there are 8 sole privileged providers.
So I believe the hope is that you guys come to an agreement. What happens if you don't?
So if we are not able to reach an agreement, we did include the options for the members. One, I think it's important to mention that there is a continuity of care, tongue twister there, that is available for the members. That is communicated within the member letter, but essentially any member who is receiving care at this time would be able to maintain care for up to 90 days. There is also an option for women who are pregnant and in their 2nd trimester as of December 16th, that they would be able to continue to receive care from the hospital and that provider at the in-network rate for the remainder of the pregnancy, as well as if they had any postpartum care needed. And there's instructions within the letter. Their members are also able to call Cygnus One Guide membership program, and that number is published in the letter.
So maybe this is
Along with us,
sorry, maybe this is an Antonia question or locked in. Like, do we reopen enrollment if they don't come to an agreement for Parish, or?
Can we back up a second. I'm confused. You just mentioned a pregnant woman under care, but I just asked a question about the parish medical group, which is the physicians affiliated with Parish Medical Center, and you said that they are not part of this negotiation, that they are a different contract, but Parish Medical Center and Parish Medical Support. So if a woman's under the care of an OBGYN, she should be okay if that's a separate negotiated contract, correct?
Correct, and we'll follow up to confirm if that group is part of the North Brevard Medical Support Group. They may have exclusive and non-exclusive admitting privileges, but we will do a follow-up to confirm that specific group that was mentioned.
Amy, I wonder if you're talking about the same person that reached out to me. Do you happen to know the doctor name?
Dr. Tybalt, I mean, I could
Yeah,
sit here and
I
list
just
doctors
know.
all day, 'cause, I mean,
No, I believe you, but I know a teacher reached out to me from the North area that's pregnant and was very concerned. And I'm a little confused on what doctors we're negotiating with or not.
Okay, so we will take that. I know that Renee had already started the request, and so we're working on providing that list.
Kyle, to respond to your question as it relates to an open enrollment, we have had some general conversations, but because we don't have a definite what's next yet, and kind of waiting on those contractual agreements to happen or not, we're just kind of on pause and know that, you know, we have had generic conversations of possible plans, nothing concrete, but just being aware that we have all options on the table and there is a conversation that has been had.
I appreciate to know that. I appreciate that, but I just want to highlight that, well, I'm never going to tell somebody how to negotiate or what they should hold out for or not. If it comes December 16th and the deal's not worked out, I hope we're able to move very quickly to solve some of these problems, because we were already getting calls based on the letters. And I believe everybody in this room on the phone and everything hopes that it gets worked out, but there's always a chance it doesn't. So I hope we're prepared for that more than, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you.
yeah, this is going to be a huge gap in care for the north end of this county if this doesn't resolve. Go ahead, Dan.
Madam Chair, as someone who's been on this committee for a while, this kind of thing happens every now and then. This is the third or fourth time I've seen it happen in my maybe 12 to 15 years doing this. Usually we're not privy to the behind-the-scenes negotiations. We have an insurance company and a health network negotiating their reimbursement rates. Usually it's all behind-the-scenes stuff that happens all the time. When they come close to a deadline, that's when they start notifying everybody. It's a little bit posturing and a little bit stuff they have to do. But I think right now we reassure everybody that a major hospital network is not going to just drop out of service for a big percentage of our people, and a major insurance company is not just going to lose a hospital, but this is just what goes on behind the scenes, and sometimes we're made aware of it. If it doesn't get settled December 15th, it'll get settled December 16th, and that's how these things go.
But however,
In the meantime, we have to prepare, and that's just what we do.
Parish has done this before to the entire city of Titusville with Blue Cross Blue Shield. They dumped Blue Cross Blue Shield, and all city employees about 15 years ago were without a hospital provider for 2 years. So it's not unheard of. So we need to be prepared.
She said, yeah, no, you're good. You covered what I was going to say. We've had it before. And we had Blue Cross Blue Shield at the time as well when Parish and them had a falling out. So yes, North End has lost Parish prior.
Which is why Blue Cross is not our option today.
Exactly. So back to what Kyle brought up, what would be the contingency plan, worst case scenario?
Right now, I don't have a response to that other than we've had generic conversation, so we can prepare ourselves one way or the other, and it's generic. We have been here before. I've read the notes, I've read the emails, and we're just going to follow suit and know that we're not going to leave our employees without. Cigna has confirmed with us, I can say that, and actually just confirmed again that there is a contingency plan, and we will work through that as we move forward. But we're not going to leave our employees hanging. That is not our goal. We want to ensure every employee is treated fairly and get the services that they are paying for as it relates to healthcare.
All right. Is there any other discussion about the parish and Cigna negotiations? Okay, go ahead.
So pediatrics in Brevard is probably, I haven't looked it up, but pediatrics in Brevard is probably the largest pediatrics practice in the county. They have offices in Cocoa, Melbourne, now Palm Bay, and Rockledge. I, being a client, whatever the word is, our family has been for years and years and years, just found out that even though they are not a Health First facility, they've always been separate, they now have contracted with Privia. If you're familiar with them, a lot of doctor's offices use Privia to handle their, my understanding, their billing, their portal. Well, Privia, when they did Privia, because Privia handles Health First, Cigna is considering pediatrics in Brevard. And I'm sorry, I meant to send this into an email, Antonio, but I mean, this is, it's a countywide issue, not just my family issues. I wanted to bring it up. And I've already tried to make sure I've made Cigna aware, made Privia aware, made pediatrics in Brevard aware. So I think they're hammering out, but it's something we need to aware because it affects so many of our families. If Cigna is considering them to be Health First because they're going through Privia to do their billing, then that makes, for people who are on the silver plan, that makes pediatrics in Brevard out of the network, or out of the cheaper network, right? It's, Privia, I don't believe, is owned by Health First, but whatever the partnership is, when they joined and when they started using Privia for their portal and their billing, there's still, if you look on Pediatrics in Brevard website, or at least as of last couple of weeks, and I had this conversation with them, there's nowhere it says Health First. They said they're not Health First. I talked to the lady in the billing office at my pediatrician's office who, this is just a lower level person. She said, well, let me go ask. And she came back and went, oh yeah, I just found out that, yeah, I guess we are. So no, nothing definite, whatever. I've tried to let them be aware. I've let my pediatrician be aware, who is one of the doctors that owns, I don't know, but all this happened in June. But the reason why I say that is a regular office visit, a sick visit, and I'm $247 for 2 office visits because it went through my deductible rather than a $30 copay. So we need to. I'm not paying that bill yet because I think that Cigna and Privia and Pediatrics in Brevard need to hash that out. But like I said, that's a big practice for our families. So yeah, right. So, and we need to, if we can apply a little pressure on them to hurry up, because I imagine I'm not the only person who's on this. Anybody if you're on the gold plan, it wouldn't have affected you, right? Well, yeah, it will. So anybody on either plan it's going to affect because it's going to throw the whole entire thing to the deductible. A large practice that in the past, I mean, honestly, this was my silver plan, gold plan decision was this office, right. And I know I'm not the only one. So can we help make sure these 3 people?
Well, is that, I guess one of my questions would be, is that normal? We have plenty of people here.
I mean,
Cigna, can you respond to that? Probably not more in depth, but is it normal?
So we heard the conversation was around pediatrics in Brevard, and it sounded like there was a company or they were using some platform called Privia.
yes.
But I didn't understand the last part of what you needed us to respond to.
So Privia, which is also Athena Health, right? When you use Privia, it also says the same thing. They started using them in June for their billing and their portal and all that, and switched everybody over. As of this fall, even if you go to your Cigna website, if you look up any of the providers, it has the address of Pediatrics and Brevard, but it actually says Health First Medical Group above their address. They're not in Health First Medical Group, or they haven't been. But when they went with Privia, they said they had to have a new tax ID number. And like I said, the lower level person at Pediatrics and Brevard said, "Oh, I guess that makes us Health First." I was on a joint call with Cigna, a Cigna lady, just dealing with my own bill, with a representative from Cigna and a representative from Privia, trying to make them aware. And I've contacted Pediatrics and Brevard, but there's something that's triggering that. And so because now they're considered Health First Medical Group, that just needs to be confirmed. And if it's not true, then it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, so it sounds like we can confirm if Pediatrics and Brevard is now contracted as a Health First provider or not, so we can take that back.
Okay.
And it sounds like there need to be some clarification based off what's published in mycigna.com, if there's a reference to Health First and it's not actually part of the Health First contract.
Right.
So we will take that away.
Thank you.
Well, and then fix the billing part.
Right, and then they'll have to be fixing the bills and the explanation of benefits for everybody who got charged, towards their deductibles rather than the copay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if, in the reverse of that, if they did sell out,
They need to, if they are part of Health First, they need to, and that was my complaint to the doctor's office was, if you're gonna make this change for a huge portion of our county, you should have sent out a letter, and they haven't. So that's why I'm hoping, in my heart of hearts, this was all an error, but it needs to be corrected. And I'm not paying my bill until it is.
All right, Cigna, thank you very much.
thank you.
Sorry, use the mic. Cigna, thank you very much, unless there's any other questions in regards to what they have discussed here in this meeting. All righty, Cigna, we appreciate you being a part of our conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like us to drop now?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, anything else for the good of the group? I know, Dan, you had an issue you'd like to bring up.
I did. I was waiting for upcoming meetings to make it. Have we made it there?
Okay, we are, yes.
Okay. I'm noticing right now we're just inside of 2 o'clock. So we've made it through most of this agenda in an hour. We had an hour and a half worth of agenda, but we were efficient. I guess we got it to be an hour. And I just want to put out there, some of us, well, I'm speaking for myself. I don't know if I'm speaking for anyone else. Some of us have obligations to kids, so classroom obligations and school-based obligations. The last several meetings have been right about an hour of material, give or take a few minutes, and we schedule from 1 to 4. I know there's sometimes we need to schedule for 3 hours. We're making major decisions and changes and things to programs. But on these meetings where we're kind of reviewing stuff and learning stuff and getting information out, I would suggest that it'd be a lot better to meet from 3 to 4 than 1 to 2. Because if I could have been here at 3, I could have seen 3 additional classes today. And my primary responsibility is school-based, although I care about this committee and all that we do, but my primary thing is to the kids. And I couldn't justify leaving in October, just the lessons I had coming up, and we have testing and things and stuff I can't always run out. And when I see 45 minutes to an hour worth of agenda, and I think I'm going to have that hole in my day, a 3-hour hole in my day for 45 minutes to an hour of work, I couldn't justify it. Especially when we have a really hard time getting substitutes, and even if you can get a teacher in the room, it's not the same as that classroom teacher, presenting the lesson and working with the kids. So I would suggest moving forward, unless it's one of those packed meetings where we're looking at structural changes to the plan, or unless we have a reason we need to meet for 3 hours. If we know it's an hour meeting, I prefer we aim towards 3 to 4 rather than 1 to 2.
What about quarterly versus monthly?
Well, I'm all in favor of that. If the needs of this committee could be met quarterly, then I'd be all in favor of that. if there's a reason we need to review the, I mean, the smarter people than me can decide if we need to meet monthly. But if we could get away with quarterly or less often, I'd be in favor of that. But just if we do need to meet, and if we think the material is an hour, I would ask that we consider 3 to 4 as opposed to 1 to 2.
So your point, Dan, brings up an interesting point that me and Leslie were trying to talk about at our last meeting in October, but we really didn't have any members here to talk about it with. And if you look at our minutes, I believe I brought up, we'll continue to bring up, if we're meeting for 45 minutes of information and people can present to us virtually, and we probably should be able to attend virtually unless we're voting. And I believe Leslie, she may want to talk for herself, but I know in the minutes, I talked about, she was asking about the Siac charter and the purpose.
I reviewed the charter. I was not at the meeting when the charter changed.
I guess perhaps as an action item, just if we, whenever the next meeting is, I see January seems to be on our agenda, we just ask ourselves, do we need to meet? How long can we anticipate that meeting running? And if we think we have an hour of material, we hold it from 3 to 4. If we don't need to meet in January, if these review numbers could wait, then we perhaps push it to a quarterly meeting.
All right. Noted and taken into account.
We have to adjust the charter if we're making it. Does the charter say monthly or minimum?
It says, it outlines so many months throughout throughout the year. So we will have to make some charter changes if we're going to make changes to the meeting because of how the charter has structured this meeting and how it was structured at the beginning of resurrection of Siac. But it does say we have to meet so many months, and I don't recollect, but I do remember I've read where it says we have to meet so many months throughout the calendar year.
Does the charter speak to a 1 o'clock meeting versus a 3 o'clock meeting?
No, I was just referring to the question Ms. Campbell presented, the frequency of the meeting versus the time.
Okay.
If it was quarterly or every other month, time frame would probably be a little bit longer. Part of the trying to end by 4 is this building work. Dr. said he was facing but and many others. But here I think it was a very valid point considering how many. We're taking all of you off task, but I mean, taking a principal out of the building, and I know, Nell comes faithfully, but it's hard, to pull any of you guys off task.
We'll take it back to the table and
I would just suggest that the topics for the agenda drive the decision. I mean, I'm not suggesting right now we only meet for an hour or we only meet so many months. I would just say that whenever the agenda is built, and we roughly estimate times, if we realize, oh, this is only an hour, we go 3 to 4. If we realize, oh, this is an hour and a half, we go 2:30 to 4. That kind of thing. We put the extra time at the beginning so we can keep doing our jobs at our work sites, and then come out here.
So on the agenda, we have a January meeting set. So what is our date for that meeting?
Amy, before we get there, I got one other thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
Unless you want me to wait till after this.
We want to resolve that January date and then address cost?
yes, it's January 25th.
January 25th.
And I remember in our September discussion, we were going to wait until January to do our member voting at that time because we missed that window at the beginning of July.
Okay.
And then also in January, because of an event that they're having here from the legal office will be meeting in the superintendent's conference room.
Go ahead, Kyle, what's?
So I had a question, I guess this is for the benefits department, about the 2023 wellness deduction for new employees. I'm trying to figure out, I know we switched to Motivate Me, I know that came from the Siac. I do not remember that we were gonna block new hires from being eligible for the wellness deduction for an entire year. And I'm just trying to figure out if that's something we can revisit, if it's because we physically can't do it, or it was a choice we decided to make. But I mean, currently, from my understanding, if you're a new employee and you were hired October, I don't know if October 1st would do it because I don't know if you qualify for open enrollment or not, but you were hired November 1st, you're not eligible to get a deduction for doing a biometric or an annual physical till 2024. And I believe we're trying to retain employees. And I also believe that this group and everybody's told us that doing your biometric screen and seeing your doctor is better for the plan. So I'm not sure why we're eliminating that option from our employees. And then to continue on that, I had a question about FSA cards as well.
So with the implementation of Motivate Me, it laid on a date parameter that applies to everybody. There was no longer separate dates of completing wellness activities based on new hires or qualifying events. It was one umbrella time frame that everybody fell into the same bucket for the same period of getting the reduced deductible.
So there's no way we can prevent unlimited employees. I mean, some of them could be with us 13 or 14 months and will not be eligible for a reduction in their annual deductible. To me, that just doesn't even sound correct. And I'm trying to keep it two separate. I also believe it probably violates the contract the district has with BFT, trying to keep that separately. But like if somebody came and said there's no way to do this, maybe that's a little bit easier to swallow, but to me, that doesn't pass the test of common sense. When you say I have an employee that works for me for 13 months and they can't qualify for an annual deductible when they're a brand new employee.
Again, it's the program. When you implement a new program, it does change the former status quo. And so what was the case for new hires, now they join the group of everybody being applied and under the same time frame to do the wellness activities. It's a change.
So, but is this a BPS choice or a Cigna cannot physically do this choice? Because I, honestly, Lisa, I don't think it was you. So I'm not quite sure,
Were we aware
but-
that was going to be a consequence of changing to that program? Were we aware of that?
I know when Corey came and discussed the program, and if you look at some of the minutes, it reflects that activity in 23 would be applicable for the 24 reduced deductible.
That part I think we understood, but I think we were all looking at it from the eyes of existing employees. Were we aware that it was going to have this consequence to new hires?
I don't know if we discussed that or not.
There was never any discussion when we looked at the minutes as to one bucket from the other. The discussion was a holistic discussion as it relates to employees as a whole. At least that's my recollection after reviewing the minutes that we pulled. We never isolated one group or the other. I do know that with the Motivate Me, it creates seamlessly for our employees, our 5,000 buckets of employees who are able to seamlessly participate in the Motivate Me program and get everything, pushed. And it's more of an electronic process, whereas the old process that we removed ourselves from was all manual. So that's my recollection to answer your question.
Do we pay for Motivate Me? I'm assuming we pay for Motivate Me, right?
And we don't pay for Motivate Me. right now that I'm aware of. It's not in our contract that we pay. It is part of our wellness program.
I'm
And with
thinking
it-
Cigna can flag a new employee differently. Like, I'm thinking we're not the only organization with new employees.
And are you saying this is also affecting those with change in status, Lisa? So it would affect them as well?
So with the
Change in status,
implementation of,
marriage, divorce.
Come on, that can't be acceptable.
the implementation of Motivate Me, another reason for putting it in was it streamlined everything and made it an electronic process.
None of us did, yeah.
Yeah, but then it excluded employees that, I didn't know that, Leslie. It excludes employees that get a divorce and change their plan. It excludes new hires. That can't be acceptable. And I'm sorry, it's a computer program. You write the computer program and you add the flag to a new hire. Like, I've yet to hear it can't be done. I just heard this is why we do it.
Well,
And I
it
don't-
sounds to me like it's something we were unaware was going to change. We never talked about it because we had no idea it was going to change. Now we're aware, and so your question, Kyle, is can this be corrected?
And so what we can do is take that question back, Kyle, and try and continue to do some more digging. As far as the Motivate Me program is, I know it's going to be either electronic or paper and not a dual process. So what's going to happen, it becomes a dual process now.
But do we know it becomes a dual pro? I
Yes.
mean, full disclosure, I've been asking this question a month now. So the fact that we don't have any answers is kind of frustrating.
Well, I'm sorry you're frustrated. However, it is going to be a dual process. It would be because what we left was a manual process. And if we know now, by deduction, that Motivate Me cannot manage what you are asking for, what the group is talking about right now, we know it's going to be a dual process. So it will be a manual process. So now the question becomes, as you just put to the table, is there a flag that can be put in? I don't know. We'll have to find it out and bring it back to you.
So with this, if you didn't fix it this year, would it fix itself next year?
I don't know. I have to ask the question that you just asked. Is there a flag that could be placed?
I'm glad I've been asking this question
Thank
for a month.
Thank you,
So
Kyle.
Madam Chair.
Sure.
I just want to make sure I understood that, because I'm thinking about something I don't know that we considered as a group when we did all this Motivate Me. So
yeah,
we
that's
were
what I'm saying.
told, we were told, this year we had to get the biometrics done by August, was it? July?
August 31st.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a deadline for us. So all current employees have been here forever. We got the flyers, go get your biometrics and do it by this date, because that gets you the better deductible starting January 1st. But if we hired people in, the job fairs and over the summer into August and September, we're bringing on new people. Obviously, they didn't get their biometrics done before they were hired here. So is that part of what is that part of what we're talking about?
That's
Those
what it
people are not eligible?
Since open enrollment, is it applying to employees that started in August?
Anybody that missed the deadline to have the biometrics.
after that August 31st.
Anybody hired after that.
So of course they missed the deadline because
Because they didn't work
weren't
here.
employees
That's
here.
correct.
Starts
So-
the new time
So
frame
they
like
have,
everybody
so
else.
they have the higher deductible then. They didn't have a, wow.
They didn't have the opportunity
I
to.
honestly, I had not
I
even
didn't either
considered
until-
that
yeah.
this was a thing. And for next year, we have in place more than just biometrics, right? It's a
Physical.
couple things, a couple check marks, things we have to
and
do.
I'll be honest, if we have to tell them because we've already transitioned to a physical and they're a new employee and they have to go get a physical, I think that's fair.
Mhm.
Thought it was.
No, you turned it off.
You're just loud enough.
If we have to tell them that, hey, you're a new employee, we've already transitioned to the annual physical, I think that's fair.
Mhm.
But nobody knew about this. I've been asking about it.
I
So.
know, yeah.
All right, Kyle, we'll bring it back. And we'll ask some more questions now that we have a little bit more information of what I think you're looking for and what the group may be looking for and what the group considered and didn't consider. Now we can go and ask for more questions and come back to the table with it.
Antonio, my last question was about the FSA card.
Okay.
I recently read an article that the IRS increased the amount of money an employee could have on their FSA card. Are we going to open enrollment so they can adjust FSA card? Is that not easily done? Is there not a benefit to doing that? Is there a negative to doing that?
So after conferring with legal on FSA, employers don't, and I shared this in a previous email with your partner in the back, Mr. Colucci, that employers don't have to change those numbers. We can make the decision to stay as status quo or to move forward. So from an employer standpoint, we've decided to stay with what our numbers are, and then we'll move forward from there.
As a committee that makes recommendations on these type of things, could you help us understand the insight or the positive or negative, as far as like this is why we decided to stay forward versus this is why we decided to go to open enrollment? Because I've always thought the district saves money on FSA cards. Maybe that's not true, so.
The decision was made based on past practices. We have put some different things in place, some protocols in place moving forward as open enrollment moves into the next year. So this year, we're going to follow the practice that the district have followed for, and Lisa, you can tell me however many years. We decided that I'm now being made aware of this, so the practice will remain the same. Next year, we will have a different process that we'll look at.
So what's happened in the past is you may realize we have to start open enrollment communications in July. We work with our consultants to start the benefit guides and everything else, all the communications. Well, at that time, we don't know what the upcoming annual limits are for all of the various plans, and those don't come out until we've well put our communication materials to bed. That's happened consistently every year since I've been here. So we're always a year behind when the new numbers come out.
Is there a way maybe moving forward we're not a year behind?
Well,
Like,
again,
I don't know if you can.
I don't know.
I know your communication goes out, but I would assume, and I'm sure there's laws about this, if the amount's higher when open enrollment opens, why can't we just allow them the higher dollar amount?
Something we can talk to our consultants about who help us with those communication materials over the summer. And print materials are, sent to people, and it's kind of hard to unwind things that are sent in print, but we can
No, I understand
figure out
that. but I'm just
alternative.
thinking we're not the only organization in America that has had this question.
Maybe a little asterisk that says,
If the
at the highest, here's the high amount, subject to change by federal government, and then when people go to enroll, the maximum is listed there. Because by October, should we have it in October? I mean, what time frame are we talking about when it usually comes out?
Maybe I'm wrong, Katie, but I thought this one was like a special time they did it.
Well,
because
they
of
did that during
inflation.
COVID, and we reopened it because during
Right.
COVID,
Yeah,
they
we
said
did have to
everybody.
reopen at one time for FSA.
Because you could pull it out, right? During the COVID
During
time, they made
COVID.
the change. You could pull it out, put more in. They did a bunch of changes.
So that was a little bit,
Past practice wasn't always this.
so that was a little bit different for
That was
COVID because
special.
there were some things that they were allowing that wouldn't normally be allowable.
Correct.
Now they're back to regular rules. And to answer the initial question, Ms. Campbell, the rules and the changes usually come anywhere between July and October. So you just never know. It all depends on the temperature of where the country is, on how quickly the IRS get that information out to us.
Well, I would suggest, once we, if we even did the asterisk, whatever, and it is the accurate number as of open enrollment opening,
Yes.
we can't change it midstream because if somebody finishes their open enrollment and then it changes after and they're stuck and they could have put an extra couple $100 in, such and such a date. This is the drop dead. If it changes after that, then we'll just have to do it the next year because we do have to. That wouldn't be fair. Let some employees take advantage of it, some not. But maybe we could do that.
Yeah,
And those are some things that
Adaptable.
we are definitely talking about, looking at differently. Again, I was just made aware of this. I've never experienced this before, so it's new for me to experience with the FSA. So from my standpoint, we're looking at how we process that a little bit differently and what.
Are there any other?
I do. I have.
Lisa, go ahead.
So I don't know. On the board agenda for the December 13th meeting, there is an item under the procurement section for group medical and pharmaceutical insurance management services amendment to the Cigna Health and Life Insurance Company contract. And trying to read and understand what is changing. Is this just the removal of the stop loss portion?
It's the removal of stop loss, and there are about 5 or 6 additional items that are beneficial to the district and some cost savings. Debbie may want to add to this as she motions up here. But yes, to answer your question, and the additional items Debbie can talk to.
Because there is a lot there, so that's why I was like, I'm losing the details of what's changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the contract itself has a little bit of wording changes. There's some new definitions. When we renegotiated the pharmacy contract over the summer, that was approved by the board. That was tacked on and made addendums to your existing ASO contract that came from the procurement process that installed them in 2020. So some of the contract changes that were made in the pharmacy approval over the summer now will change and impact the medical effective January the 1st. Some of those were specific condition management programs that went from a 32 cents to a 28 cents per case kind of basis, some of those minor changes. But by and large, certainly no material changes to the program. Your fees did not change for what you're paying on a monthly basis. What was included right now as far as your on-site people, all of that is included in there. The Motivate Me program is included in there at no additional cost. All of those things that were specifically outlined as services that relate directly to your employees, none of that changed. There's nothing in the contract that should materially change any of the costs of the plan. By and large, a lot of it is just language. And we're happy to share, and that should already be out for public availability, right?
It's there.
Yes.
It's all posted, so if you have any questions, if you want to bring that up at the next meeting or whatever, I'm happy to be more prepared to talk about that than I am right now. As I'm talking off
Just
the top of my
published
head from what we
yesterday,
looked at a couple months ago, sure. And I will also add, since we're talking about the FSA, because of how late the IRS made that announcement this year, from a book of business, locked-in book of business standpoint, our clients 50-50 made the change of whether or not they wanted to make the increase to the FSA, because there's a huge administrative burden for programming the system. In your case, with the new employer contribution to the FSA, now there's a calculation of what the employee can put in. And so if we're increasing that, and that has to go back against the employer calculation. So there's a lot of administration that goes into setting that annual maximum. It's more than just making a change to a booklet. So I just want to make sure that that's all encompassing. And reopening open enrollment means that people's paychecks may be wrong and delayed, and this is not what I elected, and this is the first time and the second time, et cetera. So just wanted to lay that out there, that it was about 50-50 of how many of our clients did it, and mostly it was largely based on the timing of their open enrollment. If they had already begun open enrollment, none of them did it. You're going to ask me something, Kyle? You're looking at me like you're going to ask me something.
I was just going to say, I heard that it could be done, and what I take away from that is that we can benefit our employees.
It could be done, but to the benefit of the employee, maybe, but could be to the detriment of the employee also. So we need to look at also across the board, how many of your participants are actually maxing out the maximum amount of their healthcare FSA? Very small amount. Okay, I'm not saying there's none, I'm saying there's very few. All right, and so for reopening the administrative...
In this room, they understand it.
So the act of reopening an administrative period, delaying decisions that were already made, republishing materials, things like that, delaying new payroll deductions, et cetera, into paychecks and things like that, is it worth it for the less than 100 people of 6,000 that are actually putting the maximum amount into their FSA that they put in an extra $200? So, and typically, and this is the most it's changed, historically they only increase it by $50 every year. This year was the biggest increase I've ever seen.
Well, I think that's why we got questions.
Sure.
We've never had questions before, and it was
Sure.
because of inflation, there's a large increase.
Yep. And so we might expect to see it increase in this kind of size and scale going forward. So to Antonio's point, we look for a late IRS bulletin. There's really nothing anybody in this room can do about the IRS and their timing. But if we get the timing, and that's something that we want to look at, it will be a programming situation for sure.
Speaking of the FSA, though, did we have in our numbers? No, we didn't. How many people took an FSA this year?
I did not put in that in the presentation, but we can certainly bring that next month.
I can tell you now, it's about 4,200 because I was asked by payroll today, about 4,200. And currently enrollment's about 2,300. So big jump.
Everybody didn't take the $300.
They still didn't understand to go sign up for that,
District
huh?
offered.
But
Yeah.
we doubled our participation.
Well, I don't,
Yeah.
by saying there's some confusion around it, I don't think employee benefits
No.
didn't do anything.
Oh,
I just
gosh.
think people don't read.
Right.
Correct.
We're being honest, because people called me and said, where's it at?
Because on the
page
top
5,
of
I didn't
every-
even see that.
Because on the top of every mailer, it was like, even if you don't, go in because you've got this 300. I mean, it was super clear.
I just think we often walk away when we say it. There was confusion that somebody's taking blame for it. I just want to point out, I think that was fine. I just
No,
think
your
some of our employees
communications
don't
were,
read.
your communications were great. They covered it very well.
But you said the 4,200 was for this year. To usual is what? 20?
And this year's about 23. Don't quote me exactly, but we almost doubled it.
Okay.
4,200 next
progress.
year, and like 23 this right now.
All right, is there any other discussion for the good of the group? Any questions? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second? All right. Happy holidays, everybody. We will see you on January 25th.
Thank you, everyone. Do have a wonderful winter break, restful, and thank you for all your work.